So you're famed for doing Match of the Day in TV, but you actually started in radio, didn't you?
Oh,
Is that how you
yeah,
started?
my TV's just moonlighting. My career's always been radio. So I started I was a print journalist, then went to Radio 1 when I was about 20, 21, doing the session in Northern Ireland, then ended up doing the evening session for 6 months, then weekends, then daytime, and then thankfully back to nighttime for 3 years. And then I switched to 5 Live, where I am now. So I do fight and talk. Don't mention the Sony Sports Show of the Year. I get embarrassed about it. But anyway, okay, yeah. It's the Sony Sports Show of the Year. No, I do the Friday night preview show, which I put a lot of effort into, and then I do a music show for Radio Ulster as well. So yeah, radio man who flirts with TV, but my lover's radio.
How did you start? How did you take your very first path into radio?
But completely by accident. I was a print journalist who used to ran a music magazine. Started off as a news journalist. Wrote for magazines, ran local clubs, local gigs, put on gigs from some bands who you'd never heard of, some bands who went on to sell a lot of records, but at the time were local Northern Ireland bands. Generally lost a lot of money doing that. And and then there was an audition process for a regional Radio 1 show. And I didn't actually go to the first auditions, and my mates kept saying, you should go for it, you talk a lot of rubbish, go for that. And I went down and did an audition after being up all night watching the World Cup. When England got beat by Brazil, do you remember the Ronaldinho free kick?
That lobbed David Seaman.
Yeah.
So
I was there,
I remember that.
so tired. I did an audition, I got into it, and that's it really. Been there ever since.
And how did you progress then? You said you stumbled into it by luck. Was there a certain point where you thought, wow, I've got to really, get my head down and start working hard at this, or was it just a natural progression?
I've always been a hard worker. We always call them plug-in presenters, people who turn up, put their headphones in and do what somebody else tells them. Some people are very good at that. I've never been good at that. So any job I do, I work on it. I always have a rule at 2 hours off air for every hour on air minimum. So, so my Friday night show starts at 7, I go in at 12, about 11:30. Fight and talk, do all my notes the day before and turn up. That's only an hour long. Turn up maybe 2.5 hours before. You got to put that work in. I think that's something that thankfully still exists in radio, where you can get a real output out of putting in the hard graft. But really, it's the relationship. It's the producer and the presenter, or the producers and the presenters, or however many you have. It's where a presenter feels like it's not his name above the door, and you feel it's not your name above the door, and he feels he's got some form of input in the presentation, and you feel you've got some form of input in the production. To me, that's always been the key to good radio, and when I haven't had that relationship, it's been the key to bad radio. And I think in terms of how you get on the ladder and how you move forward, and hard work, I suppose, is the key. I think media is media, whether it's print or radio or TV. I think they work like that. You've got something very personal in print. You've got something that you have to work quite hard to make personal, which is radio. Now you've got something that 99% of the time is impersonal, which is TV. I think if you've got any journalistic blood, you'll like print best, then radio, then TV. I've always been like that. Radio is a wonderful medium to take ideas, let them grow, personalise them, talking to just one listener at all times, no matter how big the show is, really creating something special. But my print journalism background is what has given me the work ethic in that. If someone wants to work in radio, they don't necessarily need to go beating down the door of Absolute Radio or Radio 1 or whatever. Write for your local magazines. Learn from people who send a review back to you and say, this was good, this was bad, here's what you didn't do, here's what you did do. Get on a mic anywhere you can get any practice, whether it's in a hospital radio. Listen back to yourself, which is really hard. Just try and learn and learn and learn. Try and, creativity is something I think it's hard to... You don't always have to be creative, but you need a creative person in your team, whether it's you or the producer or both. But I think there's so many ways in, but it's hard work, and go through whatever route you have to.